Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a successful edtech entrepreneur from Mumbai, India, Mr. Anant Bengani. Anant, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure to be here, Ashish.
Thank you. Anant is the director and co-founder of Zell Education. So, Anand, before we come to Zell, a few
Yeah.
questions for you.
Yeah.
You qualified as a chartered accountant while also studying financial markets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking back, what were some of the formative experiences that shaped your entrepreneurial mindset?
I come from a Marwari family, I think, surrounded by a group of entrepreneurs who have right from, my great grandfather, grandfather, my father, and me. So that and my uncles and my extended family, everyone sort of had entrepreneurship going on for them. So, in the ecosystem, when you're brought up like that, it's very normal to see yourself think about entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
The second thing about entrepreneurship and how our journey specifically started was
Hmm.
that, when you're 22, 23, you're so stupid that you're so naive rather that you just jump into it saying that, listen, let's do it, let's get it done. And only when you sort of start grinding is when you understand the nuances, the things you have to navigate, the way you are supposed to speak, the kind of branding you're supposed to do, right from and Zell, when we started, we were into our first few jobs at 22, 23. So we decided that we are not going to borrow any outside capital. So when we decided not to borrow any outside capital, that meant that we had to self-fund it. So we put about 10 or 20,000 rupees. That's all it required to register your company. And we didn't have an office for the first year. We worked out of our dad's offices, our houses, Starbucks, college canteens, where we would basically try to get students to join our programs, and they're all. So, coming back to what you said on how entrepreneurship sort of got ingrained, I think it was ingrained in us at a very young, early age, that it is a very normal thing to be an
Yeah,
entrepreneur and to be able to do
absolutely.
done so to speak.
Absolutely. Great response. When did you realize that traditional finance education was not adequately preparing students for global careers,
Yeah,
that there
yeah.
was a business opportunity to solve this problem?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think it's a very good question because when you see, Bombay basically has you finish your 10th standard and then 11th and 12th, there's a different concept here called junior college.
Hmm.
You don't really go to high school here. There are not too many high schools over here. There's a junior college concept. When you went over there and at that time, you had a lot of free time, less pressure because boards have already been done in 10th standard. You start navigating about what is possible. Now, chartered accounting was the obvious answer, which was screaming on our faces. Uh, we had obviously bachelor's education in the country, which we were anyways going to pursue. So I did my bachelor's in financial markets from HR College in Mumbai. Now, what happened throughout the journey was I also started studying for my company secretary and my chartered accounting exams and my bachelor's in financial management. The problem was that it might not be everyone's cup of tea to be able to finish chartered accounting. It is not everyone's passion to continue working as a chartered accountant necessarily. In a practice, so called, you can do many things. Chartered accounting is an incredibly well planned examination. While it's one of the toughest exams in the world,
Hmm.
it does prepare you for good fundamentals. However, not the best soft skills. Now, I did not want to practice. I knew that at a very young age, and so we decided that, listen, there's a whole world which we can sort of gravitate towards, which are the
Hmm.
international programs. If I don't need to sign, but I need a fundamental education and I want a qualification, I can maybe pursue that. And my co-founder was pursuing one of those things, and he got a job at a very young age in one of the big four companies, whereas I was still writing my final CA examinations. So that sort of prompted us to, brainstorm. And one night we basically got together, we spoke about it, and as every 22, 23-year-olds do, jump into action with a little bit more of passion and less of thinking it through. But maybe it's one of the best decisions because when you're 30, you have more to lose, and when you're 20s, you have a little less to lose.
Correct. Great response. As someone who enjoys marathons, trekking, and endurance
Yeah,
sports,
Yeah, yeah,
What parallels do you see, Anant, between building a business and
yeah, yeah.
completing a long distance race?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think this is a great question. First of all, I'm a sports fanatic. Any sports, just run marathons or otherwise, if any kind of sport which I could play, I don't think I'm great at sports, but I think I do have the passion for that. Now, bootstrapping has its own nuances.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have the resources to pump in. So now any money which we earn, which we could have taken home, we have to put it back. Now, marathon, if I'm running, I have to pace myself, Uh, at at 24, 25, you would always feel that why is this not happening? Or why am I not being able to crack this? It does take time. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to trust your own body. It takes time to trust your own mind, your own instinct. And you keep going. There have been deals which have taken us 10 years to crack. We finally been able to crack it. But very, very similar to being a marathon, it was more about outlasting a lot of people. It's not a 100-meter race necessarily. Having a very strong foundation is very important. Having a good team around you is very important. That's true for being maybe running a marathon at a professional level. Having the best coach is important. Getting the best conditioning is important. Yeah, there are patches where you sort of slow down also. You
Mm,
know, I we saw this is the best example I can give you because it sort of has a very good parallel with the Zell journey we've seen. When we started from zero to year number five, we had one product and we have X number of sales versus what it is today. We are almost 20 or maybe 30, 35x in the last 5 years. And again, this is being bootstrapped. This is trusting our product, trusting our instinct. There are way too many obstacles in the way, but that's fine. I mean, now we just learn to deal with those
mm,
obstacles and not worry about, what's coming in the way, but focus on the finish line.
right.
And we're not in a hurry
Mm,
to reach an X number where if we miss that number, we're very incredibly hard on ourselves and we prepare harder for the next year.
absolutely.
So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
it's a great question, Ashutosh. Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's come to Zell Education now, Anant.
yeah, yeah.
Why did you choose to focus specifically on finance and accounting rather
Yeah.
than the broader education market?
So I was studying my chartered accounting. My company secretary, my co-founder was studying his ACCA. One of the most important facets which we felt was we first of all this was something which we had a know-how about. Second thing was the demography which we saw at a very young age. We saw this that commerce students, management students don't have too many choices. Either you go and do MBA, which is another 2 years,
Mm,
and you see all the hoopla about the Kamats of the world shouting about MBA. I sort of I'm on the same page as they are, but at the same point of time, I wanted global education to come in, which was more not rote learning but application based. We
mm,
found a few courses which had applicability at the same point in time, a little proof of concept. And some, again, when you're 22, 23, if I would have jumped, for example, in the pharma sector, I wouldn't know how to, I would have another learning curve altogether to be able to
correct.
start. Second thing was the fact that we knew that we could get our first 100 customers within the first year, which
Mm,
we were able to, and to be able to get there without any capital takes incredible amount of effort. Remember, we were 23-year-olds, we were talking to parents about 40, who are 45, 50, 55, about their kids' journey. So we also had to be mature and have incredible know-how about what we were trying to do. So that worked out very well for us.
mm,
We knew
mm,
we could back ourselves
mm,
on certain things which we knew.
mm,
So that is the reason why finance accounting as a world had not seen the explosion of the global programs. It's just not some of the programs which we were doing. A few of our ecosystem competitors, so to say, they were also doing a few great programs, and they everyone built the market.
mm,
In finance and accounting, being able to think anything out of chartered accounting or MBA was not sacrosanct. And now what we see is people have options. People are able to think differently. People
mm,
don't want to necessarily spend 5 years, do a program, and not have the surety if they'll clear. Look, you think about LLB. It's tougher to get inside the tougher colleges, but once you're in, if you clear and you don't mess up, you clear your 5 years. Same thing goes for engineering, same thing goes for architecture, and majority of the professional qualifications, technical ones especially. But chartered accounting is one of the whereas you come into finance, except for your bachelor's and your master's education, there's no certainty of any professional
Correct.
qualification which will propel you otherwise.
Correct. But tell me, since you've been speaking about international qualifications
Yeah,
and
yeah.
certifications available, do you find that students and parents still have any misconceptions about global certifications?
To a certain extent, yes.
Hmm.
It's like मेरा बेटा engineer बनेगा.
Hmm.
With the advent of AI, I know that Infosys kind of companies are taking double the test that they were, and a kid who's way more passionate about coding will get inside these companies. Similarly, parents who had the have not to say misconception, but that was the environment they were brought up in, right? They had only seen chartered accounting, they had only seen company secretary, and when you are sort of putting your kid's career on the line, you sort of want to take the safer option always.
Hmm.
But maybe that's not always the best option. Um, for the kid, I'm talking about for families who are I still feel that chartered accounting is an incredibly amazing examination or program which prepares you for great hard skills.
Hmm.
So when it comes to international qualifications, I believe parents have now been more accepting about the kind of growth which these qualifications have seen. For example, back in 2015, when we started the ACCA qualification, which is a flagship course, we had a handful of kids who knew about the program, and they were doing it because they were very passionate either about adding this to the resume. They didn't want to study any particular program, or they wanted to go abroad and build a career over there. Back then, I vividly remember there were about 5,000 kids, lesser than 5,000 kids in the country who were giving these examinations. Today, the same number would be north of 100,000.
Wow.
I've seen that grow 20x and other qualifications as well. CPA, which was predominantly an American-based examination.
Yeah.
When they in COVID, they pivoted and they allowed kids in India to sort of give the examinations from India. Earlier, you had to go to Dubai or America to give it. UAE and America to go to give it. Now they have a center in India, and that allowed accessibility increased. At the same point in time, acceptance increased. And these qualifications also are very relevant because they're global. They don't think necessarily. And again, in the age of globalization and at the pinnacle of globalization, we are seeing more and more about Indians serving,
Yeah.
Indians becoming a knowledge capital of the world. So,
Correct.
what is more important than knowledge and the skill set? Not necessarily always the
Yeah.
degree. If that you can get that by doing X Indian course or Y global course, do what fits you, what works for you, uh, and go as niche as you can in your skill set, as deep as you can, so that you sort of become indispensable in that way. And keep learning is what I feel, because standards keep evolving worldwide because of whatever is happening in the world. That
Well said. You talk about bridging the gap between education and industry.
yeah.
What are employers telling you
Yeah.
they need, which our graduates may still lack?
Yeah. So I don't know, Ashutosh, if you know about this. We work very, very closely with 4 or 5 corporates where we've built programs together and we go teach together. And they're the world's in their respected fields. There are companies where the revenues could be $70 billion or more, or they're number one in their fields. For example, we work with a big four company called Deloitte, which is the largest consulting company in the world. Now, together, Deloitte and Zell go together and they teach and they get kids ready in terms of what's coming, what's next, what's new. I strongly believe that technical skills are going to keep evolving as and when changes keep happening worldwide. However, the biggest thing is intent of the student, intent of the person who wants to get that job very badly, to be able to, that drive, so to say, which a lot of people sort of are saying, the gap between work-life balance and what employers want is sort of increasing at this point of time. And whoever is going to be on the other side with the employees is going to have a slightly smoother journey, or at least he's not going to fight with themselves. Now, uh, yeah, so when we talk to employers about what's happening, they give me a lot of insights on building that into the curriculum. For example, we have a financial technology program we've built with Paytm. Paytm is one of the largest fintechs in the world, not just India. And they give me incredible insights into the curriculum. And when it keeps changing, I don't expect Zell or necessarily every academic institution to have the prowess to be able to evolve. Hence, get the industry in as well. It's important that we collaborate now. We cannot work in silos. I can't do everything by myself. Neither can these other companies. So we come together, we go to market together, we build the students, and maybe, they become closer to getting their job as well. So that is one of the most unique things, and it's taken a lot of time to be able to do this,
Sure. I agree.
So this is one very unique factor, which we sort of, for example, marketing has seen incredible changes because especially with the advent of AI, we had SEO, now we have AEO, GEO, and AIO. So when we are sort of gravitating differently, what's happening is that a student who's entering, for example, a marketing course in a 3-year undergraduate, 4-year undergraduate degree, by the end of 4 years, maybe what he learned in year number 1 is not even there anymore.
Correct.
So
Correct.
these companies are coming in and helping us with more and helping us prep these kids for good content. And they're coming themselves and teaching, just not content.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
You just mentioned AI, and my next question is on AI.
Yeah.
With AI coming in,
Yeah.
will this impact professional qualifications or will reduce the demand for chartered accountants and finance professionals? Just change the nature of their work.
The nature is going to evolve for sure. And I don't think it is necessarily true that because AI is coming in, the lower rung jobs, whichever were repetitive and could be evolved, could be taken over by AI. That's fantastic because human beings can actually do something more technical. Technical accounting will not go away. Technical accounting is not going to go away. The kind of case studies. Think about Amazon in America, think about Amazon in India, having different accounting standards. While you might be able to do a lot of those things by integrating it technically to ensure that shareholders get the real view without errors. I mean, you require really good skill set people for those, for being able to do these kind of transactions reporting. I don't think technical accounting is sort of going to go away. In fact, what I've read is, and because of my interactions with a lot of these companies, what we've understood is, for example, they were going to hire 70,000 people. Now they're hiring 50,000 people. And they're enabling these guys with obviously AI skill sets so that, but if you read what's happening recently, AI is also seeing it's very expensive. So there are a lot of reports coming out of the US that a lot of companies have sort of jumped back into human capital because AI is just expensive.
Absolutely.
And maybe that will evolve over a period of time when human beings can jump onto doing more meaningful things. More, and look, we're creative. Inanely, we're very creative.
Yeah.
So that's how, I mean, we're having this podcast where you're sitting in Gurgaon, I'm sitting in Bombay. I think human beings have the ability to do much more.
Absolutely.
So it'll keep going on. Yeah.
Well said. How are you in Zell incorporating AI and technology into your learning ecosystem?
Yeah, very good question, Ashutosh. And we don't want to integrate AI for AI's sake because everyone's doing it because that's there. But I'll tell you a few anecdotal things which we're doing.
Yeah.
Every class every lecture which is being delivered, we're using AI quality checks. We are also ensuring that any sales calls which are happening, counseling calls which are happening, are being monitored as to meet the requirements of our quality checks again. We do take help of AI in being able to ensure that the content piece which is being created is utmost. If you go to our YouTube, we obviously do have a lot of AI driven content over there as well. So it has been integrated in phases, but we are very cognizant about doing it in the right way and not abusing it for the heck of it.
Yeah.
And also not incorporating it because it's there. Yeah, it's there, it's essential, but let's do it in the right way to be able to get the most out of it.
Very interesting. What percentage of career success comes from technical expertise versus adaptability and learning agility?
Very, very good question. I think technical skills are going to help you sort of be in the job where you are, but
Correct.
adaptability is always going to help you enter new domains, uh, new phases of life, and at the same point of time, it's going to keep you nimble enough to ensure the challenges which keep coming in your ecosystem, you can keep navigating it. I think intent, adaptability, overall attitude will be way more important than just only knowing technical know-how, because
Mm.
maybe someone has the technical know-how and is better in terms of attitude, aptitude, etc. Maybe he or she has a better edge over you. So I think it's a combination of both, maybe a 70-30, technical 30% and 70% adaptability. Because it's
Mm.
very difficult to teach intent and adaptability
Correct.
versus technical, I can still teach you, but I don't think I can necessarily be the best judge of, or I can teach you how to become or work harder.
Absolutely.
I want to tell you an anecdote. I was talking to a gentleman. I'm not going to name that, and we were talking about his team very recently. I'm talking about a conversation early this week, and we were talking about his team members, and we were talking particularly about communication skills. And he said that there's a kid who's from a tier two city, and we've sort of told him that your progression is going to get stunted if you're not able to if you don't improve on your comm skills. So we've told him that, listen, your progression is going to be here. While you keep getting increment, maybe positionally you might not go up the ladder. But the kid is so hardworking. He just said, give me 18 months and I'll transform myself. Now, transforming yourself, and I was thinking, transforming yourself at 30, 35 is not very, very easy. But if you have the intent and he's able to do it, time will tell, and how much he works hard will tell, and if the company supports him will tell. But clearly, he's very good at his current job. To get to the next part of the job, it's intent and adaptability which will help him go up the ladder.
Very good. Very good response. Anant, I have time for two more questions.
Yeah, yeah,
My next question, and this takes me back when I finished my MBA from Jamnalal Bajaj 50 years
yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, and I've majored in finance. My question is, how important are soft skills, communication, and leadership in finance careers today to make it to the top?
yeah. I think the number one skill set. I still believe it's the number one skill set.
Hmm.
Because the gift of the gab is sort of what what sort of differentiates you between the technical person and the person who's clearly going to, everyone knows is going to kill it in their careers. Uh, I think soft skills are so underrated, and
Correct.
it's incredibly underrated. And you know that since you're from Jamnal Bajaj, you would have seen classmates go across the country, goes across the world, and the ones who made it either have adapted to becoming great leaders, have adapted to greater communication skills. It's also not what you say always; it's about how
Mm.
you say it, right?
Correct.
And that is very, very important in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion,
Yeah.
but I think I resonate with the question a lot because being a good leader, having folks uh, not blindly follow you, but follow you because there's merit in what you're saying.
Mm.
They trust your gut, they trust your opinion, they trust your instinct, and at the same important time, they want to follow you and work. Look, for me, I work with my team maybe 60 hours a week, and for them to be, and they're spending majority of their times with me, right?
Mm.
So if they're giving me that kind of time, I hope I can do justice to the
Yeah.
position. Number one. The second thing is to constantly reinvent ourselves. Now, I don't think this is necessarily self-taught, but a majority of it is. Books help, meeting people helps, understanding how because we didn't have too much exposure in necessarily the corporate world early on. We both did have a 4-5 year experience, because both these careers require practical experience.
Correct.
We didn't have the option to meet too many people in the first part of our lives,
Mm.
but we focused a lot on product building back then. Then maybe once we were 26, 27, 28, 29 years age, we sort of saw our leadership come to the fore. Of course, we ourselves, I'm talking anecdotally about what
Yeah.
we've done.
Yeah.
We've made mistakes for sure, but I don't think any of the mistakes were fundamental mistakes. They are mistakes which come in the normal course of business. However, few things which we look at, I mean, hiring till today is how well do they communicate. You just make a different impression when
Yeah.
you're wearing the right clothes, wearing the right shoes, dressing very well. A pretty package is always appreciated more by
Absolutely.
everyone, just not when you're doing sales. The second thing is, can he eventually lead a team of 2, 5, 10, 20? Because you can entrust him with more responsibilities. How will he be as a good leader? Again, I think individual contributors do become good leaders over a period of time because they're very inanely focused on what they're doing, first on themselves and then on others. And yeah, I mean, I hope I've answered your question
Yeah,
in
yeah, you
some
have, you
sort of a.
have, you
But
have,
yeah, I think,
absolutely.
and
And
especially in the world of finance, if you look at investment bankers, you always think about the Harvey Specter of investment of investment banking coming in, the nice suits, the nice hairdo, the nice cars.
yeah,
So I mean, everything is a it's a very famous saying that you won't if you're a money manager, you won't necessarily invest with a money manager who drives necessarily a cheaper car versus an expensive car, right? So uh, that way.
correct. Well said, well said. And my last question for you, Anand.
Yeah,
You have said that you want Zell Education to change the way India views finance and education, finance
yeah,
and accounting education.
yeah,
If
yeah,
I see you again on my podcast 5 years
yeah,
from now,
yeah.
what would success look like to you?
And maybe not in numbers of numbers. I don't think. I mean, every year our targets change, numbers
Correct,
change. However,
correct.
we've seen some kids build incredible careers. We were talking yesterday that listen, can we have over 1,000+ kids who are doing exceptionally well in their lives. They started with us earlier. They worked their first job. Some of them are entrepreneurs. Some of them have joined the family businesses.
Mm,
Some of them have gone to different countries. I still remember in 2017, I got a call at the Zell office. We spoke to the kid. She was struggling in the qualification she was doing. We obviously wanted her to study with us. She studied with us. She cleared. She went to Dubai. She got an opportunity to work in San Francisco. I mean, just the fact that her and when she called us and said that, listen, I got this opportunity, it made us very happy. Uh, that struck a chord. And one of the biggest things is that as students, we've been students 10 years ago, we do resonate with the pain our students face.
mm,
So we want to be able to give them great service levels, ensure as many kids can clear.
mm,
Obviously, depends on the aptitude intent of the kid as well. But if they're doing very well in life, I think that's the mark of our success story. I think our alumni is, in fact, for every education institute, just not Zell, the alumni is the hallmark, right? We just saw Bombay University coming in the top 10 institutes in the world to be had to have been to make the most number of billionaires. Now, Bombay University, not any IIT, not any IIM, Bombay University is coming in. Where again, I've studied my alma mater. So yeah, made me feel incredibly proud that listen, I have people in my ecosystem that way.
yeah,
So yeah, I think alumni doing very well would make us very happy.
very well, very interesting. And on that note, Anant, I just want to say what a fascinating conversation this has been talking to you. I think what you're doing is really building lives for so
Yeah,
many young people and helping them to focus on finance and accounts, which
thank you.
will lead them into very, very senior roles as they progress in their lives. I remember
Yes.
as a young person, there would be almost no chance for a CFO to become a CEO. And
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the last 15 years, a lot of CFOs have
Yeah, for the become
transitioned
CEO. Yeah,
and become CEOs.
yeah.
Thank you so much for doing
My
such
pleasure.
amazing work for so many young people. Thank you for speaking to me and good luck to you.
Pleasure, Ashutosh. Thank you. Thank you. I hope to be here again soon.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the brand called You Videocast and Podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.